In 2022, I'll be striving to take my investment portfolio from £80,000 to £110,000 in just 12 months. And this video is my plan on how I'm going to do this. And just to warn you, I'm probably going to be extremely transparent when it comes to both my numbers and my plans. So if you're looking to build your investment portfolio significantly over the next year, then this is the video for you. I'll be covering everything from, is the year 2022 a good time to invest? And if so, what will I be investing into and what will I be avoiding? And lastly, and probably the most important part of it all, which no one really talks about, how I'm actually going to fund all this investing over the next year. If you're a bit nosy, then you're probably going to love this part, as I'm going to be going through all the details in terms of how much I make from side hustles, including YouTube. This video will be a little bit longer than normal, so grab a mulled wine, switch on the Christmas tree lights, sit back and relax. But if you don't have that much time, then I've put some lovely timestamps in the bar below so you can skip around to the part that you're really interested in. Let's get into it. So your first question might be, why have I been foolish enough to put a number on my goal for next year? We all know that I, least of all people, have any sort of control over the outcomes of investments. But for me, I like to visualize what I'm putting my efforts into to keep me motivated. Investing is all about going without today to have abundance tomorrow. So if imagining £110,000 in 12 months helps me, then I'm all for it. But looking into next year, you might be thinking that now is possibly the worst time to invest. We have the big boys like Graham Stefan and Jeremy from Financial Education posting videos just like this. So you've got to ask, is the 2022 crash likely to come? Well, to get a bit of a steer on what the answer might be, you should scroll back 12 months to other videos that they might have previously done. And since they posted those videos, the market has grown by over 25%, an incredible year by any standards. But let's be honest, these guys are probably not the best minds when it comes to investing, as after all, they're only YouTubers. Let's hear from a world-renowned professional like Jeremy Grantham. If you don't know who Mr. Grantham is, then he is a British investor who started a fund back in the early 1970s, which is actually one of the first ones to launch an index fund, and now has over 118 billion in assets under management. To top it all off, he was actually once in the top 50 of the most influential people in the world, as polled by Bloomberg. Bit of an interesting fact, we actually went to the same university. So let me roll a clip with what he thinks of the markets right now.
We don't like to play games with overpriced assets, and that's the world that we're in now. The Fed is driving the S&P, which is overpriced, the Standard & Poor's 500, a broad measure of the US market, is driving it from already substantially overpriced into what I would call dangerously overpriced. This is about the boundary line. We expect on the 7-year horizon 1% only plus inflation from the US market.
It's not looking good, is it? Okay, I did tell one little lie. This is not what Jeremy thinks of the markets right now. This is what he thought back in 2010. And since then, the markets have grown by 325%. So if Mr. Graham is hopeless at predicting the markets, then I can safely say everybody is. Realistically, the best measure we can look at is what the market's done over the long term. If you look at any period, say 10, 15 or even 20 years, the markets have always moved up. Based on this data, we can see that the average year, the markets tend to go up by somewhere between 7 to 12%, depending on what information you look at. So I'm personally benchmarking a growth rate of 7% per year, knowing that it could wildly be lower or higher than this on any given year. This time last year, I thought the market would remain flat, and then I've been taught a lesson as it's grown by 25% in just 1 year. No one has a clue. The best way I can describe my attitude towards investing and its risks is a bit like one of my favourite sayings. Ships are safe in a harbour, but that's not what they're built for. And as a bit of a translation, my spare cash would be safe in a savings account, but that's not what my spare cash is built for. So we know my spare cash is being invested, but where am I going to be putting it? Well, during the last year, I've been putting my money into 2 different places. One being Vanguard, into a very boring stocks and shares ISA, into an equally boring global ETF, and the other has been into the high stakes world of crypto with crypto.com. Well, you might be surprised to know that I'm going to be investing my money into 2 different platforms in the coming year, but one of these from this year isn't going to make the cut. Let's start with Vanguard. As of right now, my Vanguard portfolio is valued around about £71,000, which has jumped up from £49,000 at the start of this year. In terms of that 71k, 51,000 is capital that I've invested, and then £20,000 of that has been purely market gains, with all of it invested in my trusty global ETF, the FTSE All World. For me, the FTSE All World is a perfectly balanced fund across all the right metrics, both sectors and geographies, and it's spread across over 3,500 different companies. And on top of all that, it comes at a very low cost, making it incredible value for money with a total fund cost, which is including all the hidden fees, of just 0.43%. So what's my plan for Vanguard in 2022? Well, it's really straightforward. It's all about maxing my stocks and shares ISA for the very first time. I'm still going to be sticking with my global ETF, as I believe the vast majority of people can't outperform the market by stock picking, or at least they can't do this over the long term. Maxing my ISA with £20,000 is a personal stretch. I'm confident I've got about £16,500, but the remaining £3,500 will be based on other factors. A little bit more on this later in the video. But the main reason I have no plans to change away from Vanguard is that the thing I value most about Vanguard is the fact that I trust them. Yes, Vanguard might be very boring and a little bit backwards, but there's absolutely nobody else I would trust with my £71,000. You really can't put a price on it. So based on the fact that I'm looking to invest £20,000 here and the market might grow by 7%, I believe my portfolio should be worth around about £98,000 by the end of the year, truly shy of the 100k mark. But these aren't the only Vanguard accounts I'll be contributing to in the next year. Aside from my 2022 mission to £110,000, I'm also going to be contributing £100 per month to 2 junior stocks and shares ISA. No, I'm not having twins, thank God, but I will hopefully be becoming a godfather and an uncle for the first time. That's everything Vanguard. What about crypto? I've got to say I do love crypto for all the wrong reasons. It is a wild ride and you constantly feel like you're either on the edge of going broke or maybe becoming a millionaire by accident. And for this reason, I will not be investing any more money into crypto over the next year. I originally got into crypto as I believed, and I still do believe, that we are potentially looking at a modern day version of the dot-com bubble of the 2000s. We're confident crypto is the future, we just don't know how it's going to turn out. And based on this, I've taken a broad approach to my portfolio by having 50 different cryptocurrencies, because I think there'll only be a few winners in this space in the long term. My initial goal for crypto was to invest just 2% of my capital into this space, with a view that if it dropped below 2%, then I'd top it up to make sure I had a reasonable amount of exposure to this new technology. Well, since I started investing into crypto, it's not come anywhere close to dropping below 2%. Right now, my portfolio is worth around £8,500, which is now 10% of my entire portfolio. I have no intention of selling anything at the moment, and I'm just going to leave it to go with the twists and turns of the market. But saying all this, I will actually be adding to my crypto account in 3 passive ways in 2022. The first obvious way I'm going to do this is by staking my cryptocurrency on crypto.com. I roughly have about 80% of it being staked at the moment at an average return of 6%. Meaning, look at my overall portfolio, I should get a 5% return without doing anything at all. And then next, I have the use of my crypto.com Visa card. Like most of you know, this Visa-backed debit card gives you a percentage back on anything you buy on it. Over the next year, I'll probably spend around 15 to 20,000 on this. So with a 3% rebate that I'm currently getting, that'll be roughly £500 more onto my balance. And then to top it all off, I do get referrals when people use my link in the description below. So far this year, it's been adding around £300 a month to my portfolio, but I'm going to be a little bit more bearish for the next year and say it'll be about £150 a month, meaning there'll be additional £1,800 in there by the end of the next year. If you are interested, if you use my link below, you'll get $25 of free crypto and you've not got to put any deposit in. It's a bit of a no-brainer. So adding these 3 different passive streams up without putting a single penny of my own money in, my portfolio could be up as much as 33%, totaling £11,000. And adding in a bit of market growth, so say 7%, it could be up to as much as £11,600. So if I'm investing in Vanguard and not crypto, where else am I looking to invest money? Well, I can't disclose everything at the moment, but long-time viewers might be able to guess what I'm thinking about. All I can say now is it'll be the first time ever that I'll be picking stocks.
Well, Nick, you just said that picking stocks is stupid.
Okay, yes, I did. But I believe I've got a really interesting concept for my channel and it'd be quite entertaining, so look out for something in January. Overall, over the next year, I'm looking at investing about £1,200 into picking stocks. With a little bit of market growth, that might be £1,250 by the end of it. So with all these plans and totaling up these 3 different areas, I should have £98,000 in Vanguard, £11,600 in crypto.com, and then just over £1,200 in investing apps, giving me a grand total of £110,850, which isn't a bad total as I've only been investing for 5 years. But this number is outside my control. It could be slightly higher or it could be significantly lower. Best thing I can control, which is the biggest factor that no one really talks about, which is how much you can actually invest. So let me give you some behind the scenes insight in how I'm planning on making this income to fund all this over the next year. So let's start with the big one. Like most people, by far my biggest income is my salary from work. If you're really nosy and want to know how much I make for my work, then I'll put a link in the description, which is an article that's about to go live on iNews. But if it's not published by the time this video goes out, then feel free to look out for this video on my channel where I did an interview with The Telegraph where I discussed openly how much I earn. But in the coming year, I do not believe my salary will grow much above inflation, if I'm honest. I'm currently going into the third year of my current job, which is quite reasonable for where I am in my career, but I might consider changing in 2023. And this change is primarily based on my beliefs of careers, which I shared in my video last week. So without getting a meaningful increase in my salary, the only way I'm going to increase my net income is by the fact that I might be paying off my student loan very shortly. As of a few days ago, I only have £11,000 left to pay off, which should be due to be paid off in February. This additional £200 to £300 will support my direct debits to my own Vanguard account and maybe those two pesky junior stocks and shares ISAs. So outside of salary, what are my options? Well, outside of this, I have 3 potential income sources. I have this YouTube channel, I have my startup business, the K9 Menu, and then finally I have my hidden side hustle, Roamler. So let's start with YouTube. I know a few of you are going to be curious of how much I've made off this YouTube channel, so let me show you straight away. Since getting monetized on the 9th of April this year, I've made close to £2,000, which means on average I'm making about £220 per month. But then you need to consider I'm spending roughly half that on subscriptions, props and equipment to actually make these videos, leaving me with £110, which I'm actually saving up to get a brand new laptop so I can edit videos while I'm away with work. On top of this, I'm spending roughly 12 hours to create one single video, believe it or not. So if you break it down, I'm probably making about £1.98 per hour. This obviously excludes any referrals that I get on crypto.com, but even then, I'm probably still making less than minimum wage per hour. And that's not even considering that I would be paying a 40% tax on this income if I took it as an income. But then on top of this, I do get £40 a month from my lovely patrons, so a big thank you to them. If you're interested in becoming a patron of the channel, then you can join for as little as £2 a month to join a like-minded group of investors on my private Discord server. And on top of that, we sometimes do play the odd Among Us game. So saying all this about YouTube, if you look at the pure financials, it's not really worth continuing, but I can see potential for it to grow over the long term. So I feel like my best strategy is to double down and reinvest everything into improving the quality of my content and grow my audience, with a view that one day it might be financially viable. Next, we have the K9 Menu, which is a startup business that I've been trying to grow alongside my sister-in-law since the summer of this year. The concept is extremely simple. We're selling individually wrapped 100% natural dog chews to dog-friendly pubs and restaurants. Simple. So far this year, I've invested £750 in starting this, and I'm glad to say we're now at the stage that if we stopped trading, I'd at least make all my money back. But similar to YouTube, it's not currently at a place where it's commercially viable for the long term. If I look at the labour time that I'm currently putting to grading, bagging, sticking and shipping the product, then we'd be making a solid loss if we factored in minimum wage. And this ignores any work that I might do around sales and marketing. But I guess that is the nature of a startup, whether it's YouTube or a business. It's short-term pain for potentially long-term gain. Any profits that we are making at the moment are being reinvested back into the company to grow. We have some big ambitions like attending a large trade show in London in March, and we also want to significantly invest into our packaging to cut down the labour time involved. Obviously the benefit of that is it frees me up more to focus more on sales and marketing in order to grow the business. In terms of when this might be profitable, I think it'll take around 3 to 5 years, and that's even if it's successful. Our goal in the medium term is for one of us to work on it full time in the next 2 years. But in the meantime, we're going to have to be working on this outside our 9 to 5 jobs, sadly. I have been meaning to do a video purely based on going through the process of a startup business, but I just haven't got around to it. If you do want to see a video all about how I'm trying to start a business, then let me know in the comments below and I'll try and prioritise it. But if you want to see more about what I'm doing, then go and check us out on Instagram at the K9 Menu. And this finally brings me to my secret side hustle, which some of you know, which is Roamler. Roamler is an app that you can get on any smartphone, which is kind of a cross between a secret shopper app and a merchandising app. This is where you can complete tasks like taking pictures of products in a store, answering questionnaires, or actually purchasing products from a shop where you actually get paid to buy the product, but then they refund you for how much it was to buy the product for. So it's quite incredible, really. I do love this app, but I only use it when I'm already out and about already. I quite literally made £25 in just 5 minutes last week when I was already in a shop. So far this year, I've made around £800 from convenient tasks when I've been out and about, which go directly into supporting my direct debit into my Vanguard accounts. Over the next year, I can't say I'm going to put any more effort into Roamler, as I want to keep it really convenient as a bit of a cash top up when I'm already out and about. This could mean I make a little bit more than £800 next year, or maybe even a little bit less. If you want to know more about Roamler and maybe how to get an activation code to set this up, then you might want to check this video on the screen right now. Will I reach my goal of £110,000? Well, you'll have to subscribe to find out. That's all for this video. See you in the next one.